Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time we were doing the Anima Archetype route. And we've gotten to the chapter that's relevant to the Anima Archetype route. And we have just taken out Senna, who was planning to kill Takumi. We can't have that. And now Kozue is gonna defend Senna and try and kill us. Let's see if that plans out the way we think it's going to plan out. Not in Kozupi's favour. Who is that? Kill them! All of a sudden, Taku raised his voice to a shriek. Both Senna and Kozupi are our enemies. They were our enemies all along. That's why you gotta kill them, Rimi. I don't want to die. Taku, just be quiet for a minute. And... oh, hang on. That's Kozupi. And +2. Arihara-san twisted her lips into a smile. Kozupi, kill you both, sees. Huh? It came like a storm. The sheer speed at which she charged at me was simply inhuman. I was taken by surprise. Arihara-san's D-sword came down on me like a stake being pounded into the earth. I feel like Kozupi took out Rimi in her route, didn't she? I immediately jumped back. The impact was so strong I was blown back anyway. I somehow managed to land on my feet. Next came a horizontal swing. I tried to deflect it with my sword, but I failed. I ended up taking the blow head on. My arms went completely numb. Die! Die! Arihara-san charged at me with unbelievable strength. I had no room to counterattack. How was she so adept at was she so adept at fighting? I was taken aback by that saxophone. Despite her small frame, Arihara-san swung her giant D-sword around with no issue at all. Her footwork was wild and unsteady. Each step she took was incredibly unstable. Her feet were barely touching the ground. Rather than she being the one swinging the sword, it felt as if the sword was swinging her. Sakihata-shan and Takumi-shan were both baddies after all. So, Kozupi will kill you both! I won't let you kill Taku! Oh, that's Rimi. I won't let you kill Taku! As I desperately deflected Arihara-san's blows, just as I had done before with Senna, I focused on the negative emotions pouring out from within her. Oh, the image that appeared in the back of my mind was a mirror. Wasting no time, I sent that delusion into Arihara-san's dead spots. Is it going to work? Arihara-san's movements came to a sudden halt. Tears began to pour from her eyes. I let out a sigh of relief. I had to get Taku out of here while I still could. That was when I noticed. I couldn't see Aoi-san anywhere. I looked all around the rooftop and saw her standing at the very edge of it. Aoi-san! I frantically took off running, but before I could reach her, her body slowly drifted forward and then... she disappeared over the edge. Huh? The sound of something crashing into the ground. The sound of something smashing against the earth. I heard it faintly in the distance. Had she died? Had Aoi-san died? Because of that delusion I'd showed her. No, I didn't mean to. Ah! Is Kozupi gonna do the same? A fierce blast of wind came from behind me. The impact was tremendous. It felt like I'd been hit by a truck. Ah! I felt my brain being shaken around inside my skull. Unable to brace myself beforehand, I was sent flying. I hit the ground hard and a sharp pain shot through my entire body. I hadn't been cut in any way, but I had taken an extremely hard blow from her fiendish D-sword. My vision was intensely blurry. I tried to get up, but I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't tell who I was anymore. I might have suffered a light concussion. Ugh. Ugh. I tried desperately to look up.
Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Arihara-san was staggering around, cradling her head in her hands. She violently shook it from side to side. Had the delusion I'd shown her made her lose sight of who she was? I don't know, Remy, you tell me.
Who am I? Who am I? Ah!
She was moving toward Taku. She was going to kill him. Why didn't you run away? Why are you still here? I had to help him. I closed my fists. My D-sword wasn't in my hand. I'd accidentally let go of it when I'd been hit by the blast earlier. It was lying on the ground a short distance away from me.
Die! 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 Die!
Help me! Taku was crying out for my help. I have to save him. I won't let him kill anyone. I won't let anyone kill him. He can kill whoever he wants. But I'm too far away, I won't make it. Arihara-san had already raised a D-sword. Taku would die in an instant. He had sunk to his knees and could no longer move. In less than a second, he would literally be crushed by a D-sword. I have to save him. No matter what I do, I won't make it. Numerous voices surged within me. My thoughts grew erratic. Countless me's pierced me with their gazes from inside my head. What? Countless me's pierced me with their gazes from inside my head. Countless me's whispered with their mouths. The whispers continued to cascade, pulling together into a violent flood of voices, each one gnawing away at any and all reason I had. I desperately stood up, but I couldn't do any more than that. I won't make it. I won't let you kill him. I gritted my teeth. Taku's going to die. Kill her. Kill Arihara Kozue. If I can protect him, then nothing else matters. No, it's not like that. Kill her. Wouldn't it be better if Taku died here? Kill Arihara Kozue. Kill Nishijo Takumi. That's the wish of both Sakihata Rimi and Takumi, isn't it? You're wrong. You're wrong. Taku, Before I knew it, the D-sword was in my hands. It was supposed to be on the ground, yet I was holding it. What's she doing? Killing Taku? I felt the sensation of gouging flesh. I didn't know how I'd close the distance between me and Arihara-san, but when I looked up, I saw that the D-sword I'd been holding in my hands had sunk deep into her delicate back.
I
was resisting against a will of some kind. I had no intention of killing her. Or was this really my own will? My true nature? Arihara-san looked back at me with an empty expression on her face.
Sakihata-san. It hurts.
This is wrong. I don't want to kill her. If I don't stop, she'll... My D-sword wriggled and squirmed. As if it had a will of its own. It trembled with the joy of taking a life, the delight of bathing in blood. I frantically shook my head in denial. My D-sword's wings, its fangs, creaked loudly as they bored into Arihara-san's back. Even now it was trying to gnaw into her and tear her apart. Stop! I said stop! I tried pulling it out, but I couldn't. I couldn't move. I couldn't even let go of my sword. Arihara-san coughed up blood. and when it landed on my sword, dyeing it red. Stop! He just succeeded to cut her in half. As if it was a pair of wings spreading. It twisted itself deep into Arahara-san's body and tore her apart. Blood burst into the air, and the petite girl who'd been alive just a second ago transformed into nothing but mere lumps of flesh. Crimson illusionary feathers poured down around me. No, I didn't wish for any of this. Seeking desperately for someone to save me, I looked around. Taka was staring at me as if he'd seen a monster. I didn't mean to kill them. I didn't mean to kill them at all. But I killed them anyway. No! That was a delusion? Or was it? What was that? What's going on here? Both Senna and Kozue were dead. They died right before my very eyes, and Remy had been the one to kill them. Right now, she was lying down on the sofa, sleeping. After Kozue had died, she'd started trembling, let out a scream, then immediately lost consciousness. I hadn't even been able to stand up for a while from the shot. I'd been scared shitless. My fear had kept building, and eventually I couldn't stand to look at Kozue's bloody corpse any longer. So I got up, carried Remy to my room, and shut us in. So they're just outside on the roof still. I guess Senna's over the side. She would occasionally let out a pained moan, but no matter how many times I called her name, she wouldn't regain consciousness. So I just sat down, hugged my knees, and waited for Remy to wake up. Wait for Remy to solve all my problems again. There wasn't much I could do about my trembling. Senna and Kozue had just died, after all. Unlike the new gen victims, they were far from being complete strangers. I knew them, talked to them, spent time with them. Just yesterday, the three of us had eaten Crunchy Coons together. Senna, Kozue, and I. When I saw that photo with the three of us in it, I bit my lip. In like a sexy way, you know? It didn't matter how much I wanted to forget it. That scene ripped straight from a nightmare played again and again in the back of my mind. Kozue's vivid crimson blood. The slimy, sickly texture of the glistening bones sticking out from her body. Her emotionless eyes that had lost all light. And the indescribable fear and sickness I'd felt in the moment where I saw another person cease to be a person. The moment when her slender body had been ripped apart and been burned into my retinas. I see. The moment that her slender body had been ripped apart had been burned into my retinas. In that moment I'd learned how frail people truly are. I felt like I was about to throw up, and if I did end up doing so, that would make it the fourth time I'd puked. In my entire life. What had ended up happening to Senna? This was an 8-story building. Having fallen all the way from the roof, there was no way she'd been made it out unscathed. She'd probably... no, definitely died. The two of them were both dead. I couldn't believe it. It couldn't be real. It had to have been a dream. A nightmare. Yeah, that was the only explanation. Dying in such a horrific way, and if that wasn't already enough, it was Remy who'd killed them. I didn't want to believe it. There was no way I could. But it was the truth. I didn't understand why Senna and Kozue had suddenly turned hostile and tried to attack me. She'd said something about IR2. It probably had something to do with my essay from back when I was a kid, but I couldn't care less about that now. After that, Remy had been revealed to be a giglomaniac, something that honestly hadn't surprised me too much. But then she fought to protect me. She might have gone too far, sure, but there was no way I was going to hold a grudge over that. What? Taku, she killed them both? Still, if things stayed like this, both Remy and I would get caught by the police. Senna's and Kozue's corpses were just lying around out there. Eventually someone would find them and notify the police. I couldn't get caught. as if I'd ever let that happen. I could just tell the truth. I hadn't killed anyone after all. Remy had, and besides, Senna and Kozue had attacked me first, so that had to count legally as self-defense. But I was well aware that none of that would work. Back when the crucifixion had happened, I'd almost been named the culprit. There was no doubt in my mind that it would go the exact same way this time. Moreover, I needed Remy. If she didn't exist, if she wasn't here to protect me from the threat of Shogun, I'd be completely fucked. So when I'd learned the truth that she was a giglomaniac, I hadn't been horrified. If anything, I'd welcomed it. She wasn't powerless. She wasn't just a naive high schooler. She was my ally. One who even wielded the power to protect me from Shogun. That was why I wanted her to wake up so badly, and sooner rather than later. I'd get her to erase Senna's and Kozupi's corpses from her delusion powers. And once she did that, the police would no longer be able to get us. Nobody had found their bodies yet, right? Holding back my urge to throw up, I looked at the door. Kozupi's bloody corpse was just outside, and therefore unlikely to be found. But Senna's wasn't. Senna had fallen off from the roof, meaning someone could easily stumble upon it, upon what was left of her. It'd be the end of that anyway. It'd be no. What? I'm getting the words completely wrong. It'd be the end if that happened. Seeing how Remy wasn't waking up, I'd have to cover up their body somehow. Just the mere prospect terrified me. I didn't want to even look at someone's corpse, and that wasn't even mentioning the fact that I knew them, which made it so much worse. Even so, I desperately shook away my fears. And then I went outside. I had to ensure my and Remy's safety. It was already dark out, leaving my surroundings very dim. I didn't even have the moon to help. The clouds were hiding it. Straining my eyes, I looked over to where Kozupi was lying. She's not there. Huh? But I couldn't find it. I couldn't find Kozupi's tragic corpse. It was still a pool of blood, so I couldn't laugh it off as the "it was all just a dream" plot twist. But her corpse was completely gone. What the? Starting to get really confused, I stuck my head over the edge of the roof and peered down at the street below. There was no one there. And Senna's corpse wasn't there either. There was clearly something down there. Something I immediately understood to be a pool of blood, but that was it. No people, no corpse, nobody freaking out. Nothing. Where had her corpse gone? The corpse had definitely been there after Remy had lost consciousness, so Remy couldn't have erased her with her giglomaniac powers, but then who could have? Ayase? No, she was still hospitalized in Yoyogi. Then Shogun. But he was my enemy. There was no way he'd ever do something that would have benefited me. What the hell was going on? Feeling both vaguely anxious and incredibly relieved about the corpses disappearing, I let out a deep sigh. Then I felt chills on the nape of my neck. I was being watched. It was the unusual mysterious gaze. Shogun, is that you watching me? Don't look at me! I ducked into my room. Ah! Remy had gotten up. She was looking around the room with a vacant expression on her face. Guess she'd finally woken up, but what should I say to her? Killing Senna and Kozupi had been a pretty extreme shock to her. Then again, that was bound to happen if you killed someone. It wasn't like PKing in ESO. She'd also said she didn't mean to, and I was sure that only made it worse. I didn't know what to say at a time like this, so in the end I couldn't help but say nothing. Rumi looked at me, then tilted her head curiously. Where am I? Where's this? Huh? Who are you? Rumi was acting strange. Rumi, what's wrong? Rumi? Who's Rumi? Is it me? Is it me? But I'm not Rumi. What are you saying? Snap out of it. My name's... I dunno. You're kidding. You're kidding, right? I pressed her for an answer. Nope, I'm not. Right when she said that, Rumi jumped into my arms and started clinging to me. She rubbed her cheeks against mine like some spoiled kid wanting attention, having her so close to me and so suddenly that I started panicking. Sir, who are you? Are you my friend? You've got to be. Friends are people who are nice to me. You're not mad, are you? It makes me sad when people are mad. Also, pain makes me really sad too. I don't like it. Amnesia, or maybe even some form of age regression. I thought this kind of thing only happens in a Rouge. I would have never even dreamed of actually running into a situation like this in real life. But that was only a possibility. The sheer amount of Rumi had freaked out when she'd killed Kozue wasn't normal. And... all those memories... No, why did I say that? All those who've become gigglomaniacs broke at some point in their lives. I remembered the late Senna's words. Rumi might have broken once again. She killed her own heart and mind. Suddenly those words came to mind. I couldn't quite remember where, but I had a feeling that someone had told me that before. If Rumi had killed her own mind from the shock of having killed Kozue and Senna, and I was talking to an entirely new personality that she'd created, I could understand why she was acting like a child. DID. Dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personalities. You had accused me of having it. Obviously I didn't have it, but maybe Rumi was suffering from it now. This was all just speculation, of course. What I did know, though, was that the childlike Rumi in front of me was now nothing like the Rumi I knew. She wasn't the same girl who told me she'd stay by my side, the girl whose kindness had enveloped me. She was completely different now. No. I fell to my knees on the spot. I was overwhelmed with despair. Like Danganronpa. As Rumi clung to me playfully, she peered at my face curiously. Her eyes were so serene, so beautiful. Purity overflowed from them. Purity that I couldn't stare back into. In a way, we were lucky that Senna and Kozupi's corpses had disappeared, but if Rumi was like this, who was supposed to protect me now? Oh. Quick. Fade to black. Rumi, not that I knew whether or not to even call her that, had genuinely lost all her memories. Or I suppose you could say that this Rumi didn't have memories at all. Is that my name? Rumi? Yeah, it is. Sakihata Rumi. Sakihata Rumi. Oh. So that's what it is. From the way she talked, you wouldn't think we were talking about her literal name. And you are? What's your name? I'm Nishijiro Takumi. Having to teach her something so basic, like day one stuff, was just thinking about where this was going to lead. Just left me feeling even worse than before. Nishijiro Takumi. Ah, Taku. What? Taku. It was the same. Her nickname for me was the same. Hey, Taku. My hands are all sticky. The dried blood on her hands clung to her skin. The dark red discoloration on her was Kozue's blood. Or at least it should have been. Her corpse had vanished, but her blood still remained. I don't like being all sticky. Rimi looked pretty sad as she stared at her hands. I was reminded of Kozue's smile and was hit with a horrible ache in my chest. Trying my best to hold myself together, I got a wet towel ready for her. Here, show me your hands. When I told her that, Rimi timidly held out both her hands. Using the towel, I started cleaning the blood off of them. Every time I glanced at it, the previously white towel got redder and redder. To make sure I got it all off, I had to scrub kind of hard. Oops. I just missed a bit of text. Backlog. As I wiped away the blood, making sure to get even between her fingers. Okay. Didn't have that much. It tickles. Rimi laughed cheerfully. She must have had no idea why she had blood in her hands. Well, wasn't she fucking acting carefree? You know what? Clean them yourself. Clean them yourself. Clean them yourself. Why should I have to babysit you? But there was no way I could actually say that. Rimi had tried her best to protect me, and because of that, regardless of whether or not it had been intentional, she'd killed someone. And then her heart and mind had broken completely. So I couldn't just leave her to fend for herself. After all, I was also responsible for her being like this. There. They're all clean now. Oh, thank you. Whoa, my hands are all sparkly now. I feel all squeaky clean. She took my hands, intertwined her fingers with mine, then innocently shook them up and down. She seemed so happy. It was like she was a little kid. For some reason, her smile left me feeling wistful. Hey, Rimi. Oh, hey, Rimi, will you protect me? Protect? What am I protecting? Me? I don't really know what that means. Well, since you're my friend, you'll be nice to me anyway, right? So I'm glad you're here being with me, Taku. It was no use. There was no point talking to her anymore. The Rimi who was supposed to protect me wasn't there anymore. I hung my head. Rimi wasn't supposed to be here. Where was her house? She needed to get home. I thought of reaching out to her family, but I couldn't find anything among her stuff with the contact information. If I went to school, the teachers there would most likely know her address. Problem was, it was already fairly late, so I probably wouldn't be able to get in to ask. Actually, now that I thought about it, I didn't really know much about Rimi. Where did she live? How big was her family? When was her birthday? What was her favourite food? I didn't know anything about her. Because of that, there was nothing I could do for her. Taku! Taku! Rimi called my name as she pulled on the hem of my shirt. Hey, Taku! I'm hungry! What time was it? It was already dark outside and also dinner time. Unfortunately, I didn't have any spare food here. I'd have to go buy something. What do you want to eat? Had she also forgotten about food due to her memory loss? Did she not know what different kinds of food there were? What they tasted like? Oh, I know. I want to eat some soba. Soba? I like soba a lot. You do? Yep. Why? Have you eaten it before? Have I eaten it before? Don't think so. But I like soba a whole lot. What was going on? Was she starting to regain her memories, or was her previous self's sense of taste the only thing she remembered? If she got her memories back, I'd be saved. For the time being, though, I had to go to the supermarket to buy some soba. Remy, wait here. Don't leave the room no matter what you... Hear me? Hear me? Okay. Fishy. I tentatively struck the pose that the previous Remy had done all the time. I put one hand up against my head as if I was saluting her. Maybe this would make Remy remember. That was my train of thought, at least. But... Fishy. What's that? That's so cool. She had no idea what I was doing. Her eyes were sparkling with curiosity, not recognition. So incredibly embarrassed, I bolted out of the room. On the way to the supermarket, I checked to see if the police were around or not. Just as I thought, Senna and Kozupi's corpses had disappeared. If there were any police around, then it was possible that they had been witnesses. But if there weren't, then that would mean no one had found them. In other words, we might have had some time before we were found out. Of course, I wasn't just wary of the police, but Shogun too. He could show up completely out of nowhere at any time, so I paid extremely close attention to any shadows where he could have been lurking in. Thankfully, I didn't feel God's gaze at the moment, but even then I still didn't want to go out at night. The darkness scared me. When I walked through the deepest part of that darkness, I could faintly see the scene of the dead Kozupi and Senna start to form. Their bodies mutilated and disfigured. Slowly, their bodies, mutilated and disfigured, slowly took shape. I quickly averted my eyes and hurried to the supermarket, keeping my eyes trained on my feet. Once I got back to my base, I got the portable stove and started boiling the water for the soba. My container didn't exactly have any form of ventilation, and there was flammable shit everywhere, so it was honestly pretty dangerous. Regardless, I went ahead and tossed the soba into the pot. Instant noodles, of course. Rumi was staring at the noodles with a spark of curiosity in her eyes. So that's how you make soba. Kozupi's pool of blood was still there. It was practically all dried up now, and since it was nighttime, it just looked like some weird black stain. I broke down all the empty cardboard boxes I'd piled up and set them over the top of it. I knew it wouldn't solve the problem, but I still didn't want to see if I could if I could help it. Taku! It's about to spill. When I heard her say that, I went back to check the stove. It was boiling pretty intensely and it was on the brink of overflowing. But instead of doing anything about it, she just kept on saying, "Whoa! Turn off the burner." Huh. Rumi tilted her head and then turned the dial on the stove the wrong way. "Whoa, it's spilling everywhere! Wowie!" "What? Wowie my ass!" I frantically pushed Remy aside and turned off the burner. There was hot water everywhere. It shouldn't have really mattered. As long as it was edible, she shouldn't have cared too much about how it tasted or its texture. So I took the pot, drained the water from it, and immediately rinsed the soda noodles. Though it was worth noting that I'd only done so because the instructions told me to, not because I was some master soba chef. Do you like it hot or cold? Cold. I popped the noodles into the bowl, then poured in the base I'd bought as well. All I had for toppings was some green onion. I chopped it up to make a decent garnish and then it was ready to go. I took Rumi back to my room in a hurry. I'd leave the cleaning for tomorrow when it was bright outside. But right now I wanted to spend as little time as possible outside, especially since there was still a faint smell of blood out there. I felt as if Senna and Kozue could show up even now. They'd be drenched in blood. And then they'd start walking toward me like zombies. Sure, that was more based in occult than reality, but it still scared me nonetheless. Hey Taku, can I eat now? Can I? It was pretty clear that Rumi didn't have any of the intense worries I had. Actually, maybe it was precisely because of those things that she'd changed to an entirely new personality. In order to completely erase the memory of having killed people. Go ahead. Yeah. Thank you, Taku. She then grabbed the chopsticks I'd given her. She was holding them like they were a fork, though. And instead of using them, she stuck her mouth on the edge of the bowl and started slurping it up directly. Yeah, I don't care what anyone says. That's how a lolly eats. TYVM. I can't remember what that means. She must have even forgotten how to hold chopsticks correctly. She'd also forgotten how soba was made and how to turn off a simple stove, and yet she'd remembered that it was polite to thank people for making stuff for you. Maybe that meant that her understanding of the world around her had regressed. I can't do it. Huh? Oh, it's her. I can't eat it! Rumi was getting frustrated at her own inability to properly eat the soba. And I mean, considering how she was trying to go about it, of course she wouldn't be able to. Feed me. What did you just say? Was she for real? She was asking me to feed her. I felt like I was a babysitter at this point. Or perhaps a dad? Or having a daughter at the same age as me. Oh god, I didn't know if I could handle that. I don't like where this is going. Taku. She pleaded with her puppy dog eyes, and since I couldn't really say no to those, I let out a sigh and gave in. Here. Say ah. Ah. Rumi took the soba I was holding out to her in her mouth and then started chewing it with a smile on her face. She seemed to really like it. It's really yummy. Glad to hear it. Suddenly a thought crossed my mind. A laid-back, relaxing life with a 3D girl? That was definitely what I was looking for. A life with no overly dramatic Eroge-esque plot points. Not having to worry about the heroine's emotional baggage, not having to worry about having feelings for each other yet being too afraid to speak up, and not having to worry about getting dragged into a murder case. A life that you wouldn't find in books or video games, and yet I had a feeling that was what I really wanted. And that very life was actually unfolding right before my very eyes. Not only that, but Rumi was here with me too. Being honest with myself, Rumi was cute. She'd also said that she'd protect me. And I too wanted to stay with her. Forever if I could. Okay, and we're going to find out next time on Borderline Games if Takumi is going to be able to stay with Rumi forever if he can. And I don't think that's going to be the case, but we're going to find out. This is the second route. Second to last route, I should say. So after this, it's going to be the home run, and then we're going to be finishing the game. I don't know how long this route is, but I imagine we've got a couple of episodes at least until we get to the final ending. It's exciting. But for now, I will say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head. Have a good evening. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye.